we're going to go ahead and kick her off, Dan.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Bovasin Outdoor Chronicles. My name's Jared.
And my name's Garrett.
We're two brothers who love the outdoors. We spend most of our money and all of our free time on our adventures. From working all week to playing all weekend, we find ourselves
surviving the week
to live on the weekends. Well, tell us who we got in studio today.
So,
online, I guess
online,
not in studio.
digitally in the studio, we have Dan English. He's CEO and founder of a company called Voormi. And Voormi's a textile company that actually specializes in outdoor gear and clothing.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, Dan. Maybe tell us a little bit where you're from, and how you became to be sitting in front of a Voormi sign on a screen in front of us.
You bet. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to visit a few minutes today. I'm Dan English. We live in the headquarters down in Southwest Colorado in a small town named Pagosa Springs. And we also have a retail store up in Bozeman. So we're in Montana a lot. I'm in Montana a lot and wish I was in studio with you guys today. But down here, busy chasing elk the last weekend of the season for archery for us. And so it's been a busy last 3 weeks or so, but so we're a clothing company really specializing in advanced textiles. All the textiles that we make are unique to Voormi, and everything from our next to skin base layers, really lightweight ultralights, all the way to super warm heavy duty parkas. Are very unique to us. We felt like the world didn't need another apparel brand, and however, what's been interesting to us is, the world of apparel really hasn't changed in 100 years. And I came from a technology background, spent 27 years in the tech world, and then had a chance to leave the tech world and do some cool things for a major hunting company, a great hunting company, and ran all the sales, licensing, and marketing for that company. And I realized as I moved from the tech industry into the hunting apparel industry, that there's been very little advancements in clothing and textiles. We still wear the same thing. We still buy the same thing. There's a little bit of advancements, maybe in some fibers, but at the end of the day, they really don't do much for us. They protect us from the elements and give us some privacy, but they don't adapt to what we need. I mentioned I've been elk hunting, and we've had, like all hunting in the West, such as extreme temperature range from 25 degrees a few days ago and sleet and snow, to 75 degrees in the day. And, you're running up a hill or trying to, chase elk or being in position for the thermals. And you find yourself playing the constant game of take it off, putting on, take it off, putting off. And we don't believe that should be the case. And so we've really focused the last decade on developing textiles and clothing that cover a wide range of applications and temperatures, and also a wide range of usage. We're all big backcountry skiers. We all, love to fish and raft, camp, hunt, you name it. And so we believe that gear should be versatile enough to do kind of whatever we want to do, and then also handle a truly broad range of environmental conditions. And so we tend to spell innovation a little different. A lot of people think the next color of blue or a new camo or something else is really considered innovation. We don't take that approach. So the things that we put out in our fabric and fibers are super innovative, unique to us. And in fact, a little story, if I may, I was just with my farrier And he's an outfitter down here, and we were sharing stories, and he was telling me, man, I had my string of horses. We had a big storm come through, and I had 11 horses get out of the little electric fence we set up, and they all took off. And he decided to go get it. And he had a Voormi base layer on, a mid layer, one of our mid layers, and then he threw our rain jacket on. And it was he caught him in 4 hours, and it pouring down rain, sleet, snow, you name it. And he finally came back, another 4 hours back. It was a full day chasing horses. And he takes off his top, and his top is bone dry, and he was absolutely fine. And then his bottoms had our base layers and someone else's bottoms on, very popular brand, and his bottom was soaking wet. However, the base layers, because we use so much wool, he was warm. And so he's actually filming a whole video testimonial on this type of experience he had with our clothing. So anyway, a little bit about our clothes in the woods and the backcountry, and we're born in the West. We understand all the challenges that we go through in the West. So that's who we are.
Yeah, that definitely shows a good example of, I guess, the diversity of your clothing and stuff. But I kind of want to get to know Dan a little bit. Like, maybe come back. How did you get into outdoors? Did you grow up in the outdoors? Where did you get your passion for what you do, I guess?
Yeah, great question. Yes, I did. I grew up in Southwest Missouri, and my dad was a huge bird hunter, quail hunter. We had all kinds of dogs, and I grew up quail hunting. And then we ended up getting a bunch of beagles, and we were running dogs with rabbits. And then when I was 15, I got into deer hunting with a bow. And my dad wasn't a deer hunter; he was a bird hunter. That's what he did. And so I was the black sheep of the family. I love to bird hunt, still bird hunt a lot. But the bow and arrow, got under my skin. And so since I was 15, I've had a stick and string in my hand, chasing all kinds of things with that. And so and now, that's been 45 years later. I'm still chasing elk. I'm still doing stick and string. And there's just nothing better than being in the game and trying to get close, to an animal. I think today's world, we often get confused of the difference between a bow hunting and archery. With all the tack events and all the shooting, it's great to be able to shoot 100 yards, and we all practice at that distance, right? But bow hunting, the essence of bow hunting is about how close can I get to an animal, right? Yeah. This is Zen thing. I want to get in your space, and that's what drives me. And so that's my passion for the outdoors, and spending so much time now in family, and I have grandkids, and we all live for the outdoors. Your opening is fantastic because we work all weekend, and then we play hard, or we work all week and play all weekend, and we're all very avid outdoors people that, and down here in Southwest Colorado, just like you are in Montana, we get to do that, so.
Yeah. You picked a good spot to be able to go out your back door and do it. So, doing some research and learning about you guys, because my wife actually has known about you. I used to live in Bozeman, and so did she. We were going to college up there. And she's walked by and in your store a few times, and I hadn't really heard of you because you're not out, especially kind of the Bozeman area. It's all about like Sitka, First Light. You have all these kind of heavy hitters when it comes to outdoor apparel, but they're all similar clones of each other as well, right?
Yeah.
How would you say you compare on a hunting side of things to those other brands? Because, and maybe let me clarify a little bit, when I've looked through your product catalog and everything, it looks like it's a lot for like mountaineering, skiing, camping, and we're starting to kind of dip into some of the camos and some concealment stuff, especially for like bow hunting, you explained.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a passion of mine, but what's the biggest important attribute for us is to be able to have gear, really good apparel that, covers a wide range of spectrums. I worked for one of the largest camo companies for a number of years, and I could tell you, camo is pretty much irrelevant. Camo is pretty much, it's a badge. It's like it's a representation of what camp you're in.
Yeah, and you're selling the hunter the camo, not necessarily the actual concealment value of it.
Yeah, and so so we did the camo, but our camo is a little different. We don't even call it camo, frankly. We take a completely different approach to concealment. With our patterns, if you will, like blowdown or harvest. And what we do, unlike most companies that really take a print and print an image on fabric, right? And most of that fabric is synthetic. And you guys know, when do most of the big critters move? Low light conditions. Okay.
Correct.
And so if you wear your synthetic camo, pick a brand, doesn't matter. That looks really nice under fluorescent lights. And in the middle of the day, it looks really good. You go look at your hunting buddy in low light conditions, and that person's going to glow. You're going to see that person because, synthetic fibers reflect light. And so what we have done, most of our products are really based on natural fibers, wool. And then when you print a pattern on any type of fabric, it creates a hard surface, basically, which can also add a level of reflectivity, whether it's synthetic or wool. The approach we take is we color the individual yarn. So we will take a strand of yarn, wool yarn, and make it blonde, and then we'll make it green, and then we'll make it brown. And we do all the forest floor type forest colors like I have on today. And then through some software simulation, we twist that yarn, and then we knit it in a particular way to create the most depth of field when you start looking at it. So when you wear our patterns, if you will, again, I think camo is relatively irrelevant. But if you look at our camo in the woods in low light conditions, it blends and disappears. And I know a lot of people talk about our camos disappear, this disappears, and we have the best image. But if you just look at low light conditions and look at your buddies that were wearing a synthetic garment versus a natural fiber garment, with or without camo, you're going to see a wide difference in visibility. And so we've been really focused on, if we're gonna really work on concealment, let's really work on concealment, and let's take advantage of what light does and darkness does. And when animals move, I mean, predators don't hunt in the daylight; they hunt in really low light conditions. They hunt the shade. You're not watching a lion, walking through an open meadow trying to kill an elk, right? And so they're creeping through darkness, and so we're a predator. Bow hunters, I mean, we're a predator, and so we have a lot to learn from nature, and that is, how do we disappear in low light conditions? And that's what we're focused on.
And that's one thing that we have found is throughout our hunting adventures is wool seems to be one of our favorite things. Seems like the hunting industry kind of went away from wool and then kind of went into synthetics and then kind of back to wool, where people started to realize that synthetics kind of stink. And I know a lot of companies maybe do different blends of maybe a synthetic and wool. Is there anything that makes Voormi stand out as far as where you get your wool, or how you process it?
What type of wool you use? I've heard of merino wool's a big one. I think that's like plastered over everything. Merino wool base layers, ram brûlée is another one, and then for me is alpaca. I have a lot of alpaca stuff that I like. So
yeah,
how did you pick your way through that?
Yeah, so ram brûlée is merino. It's the French. It's the French definition of merino. And you've got a big ranch up there in your neck of the woods that it has beautiful wool and do some good things in the sheep arena. We take a different approach. If you look at wool fibers on its own, wool fiber is an inherent weak fiber. So if you have a wool jacket on and you wear a bino harness, or you got a backpack on, or a gun strap or whatever, that wool is going to peel up a little bit. right? And it's just an inherent weak fiber. And so what we have done is we've optimized performance by putting specific fibers where they need to be and not where they don't. For example, on the inside, we optimize a little bit of synthetic type fiber. That synthetic fiber acts as a turbocharger and moves your nasty skin moisture, your moisture vapor transfer away from your body fast. That's what a polyester shirt does a good job with, right? It does a really nice job wicking moisture off your body. But as you said, you wear it, and by the end of the day, you're going to stink. And if you're in a hunting camp, you guys all stink, and so it's just interesting because, um, but polyester or synthetic fiber has some really good characteristics to that. And so we put a little bit of synthetic fibers inside, and then that moves the nasty moisture into the wool, right? So the wool becomes dominant. It is a dominant position for us. And then as we move into mid layers, how do we address the inherent weak fibers? We float a little bit of abrasion resistant fibers to the surface of the wool. Okay. And so what that allows us to do is wear vinyl harnesses, gunslings, whatever, and it doesn't pick or peel up the wool, but the wool becomes dominant, right? And so, so we really optimize the good in each of the fibers, and our knitting and weaving technique is way different than anybody else's out there. We use what's called a plated technology, where we don't blend the wool yarn because it's like something hybrid. You really don't get the best of anything when you do that, right? And most people blend their yarn to cut costs because wool is expensive, right? And so we take a plated approach, much like an Oreo cookie.
Okay.
So we have a little bit of synthetic that helps move the nasty moisture and smells off your body. That moves into the center creamy spot, the juicy part of the Oreo. That's the dominant. That's what we all want. It makes us quiet. It doesn't stink. It's just super comfortable. And then the upper layer of the cookie is basically our abrasion resistant fibers that really keep us, from wearing out our garments. And so we have garments with literally 600-700 days, guide days on our garments, and that's hard to find in the industry. So our products are people say they're expensive, they're premium, but that's why they're premium. Is we pick the very best fibers, and we optimize the location of the fibers to make sure that we have the very best product in the marketplace.
So kind of coming.
I'm getting a little hungry. All that talk about that Oreo.
Coming back to durability, it sounds like that's kind of one of your guys' values, is you want to produce a product that lasts and is, doesn't fall apart after 1 or 2 seasons with it. Some other companies out there offer kind of like repairs, or some are lifetime warranties, some are limited warranties. Do you guys have anything like that?
We do. We repair, if someone damages, if the dog just ate it trying to get that Oreo cookie out of the pocket you left in, and that's happened a lot, and my lab would be eating everything if she thought there was a cookie in the pocket, and so we do offer repairs. We repair often. If it's any kind of defect, we replace it. Okay. But our return rate is amongst some of the lowest in the industry. It's really unheard of with our return rate. Once you get the sizing figured out, the return rate just rarely does it not happen. It just doesn't happen, and so that's, we're focused on building the best product, and once you get hooked on wearing one piece outside, you're going to buy additional pieces, from socks all the way up, because it just lasts, and I came from the tech industry, as I mentioned, and we used to talk about price per wear, or we used to talk about, price per bit in the computer industry. And so what we do is we talk about price per wear. And we all have those expensive 3-layer, I'll call it Gore-Tex jackets, right? You pay $600, whatever. I don't think I've met anyone that wakes up that day and said, please, I hope I can wear my 3-layer Gore-Tex rain jacket today. Right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just doesn't exist because it's hot, it's noisy, it's crunchy. You don't want to do that. And so even though our products are premium, you can wear our products every day in just about every type of condition. And so the price per wear goes way down. And if you wear your rain jacket 2 days or 2 hours in a hunting season, that's a pretty expensive, price per wear, as opposed to if you wear something every day, whether it's rain or shine, that price of wear is pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to a couple of previous podcasts you were on, and one thing that you mentioned is that you were kind of out and you had this duffel bag of gear that was just in case. And so that kind of inspired you to make more versatile clothing. So a piece of clothing that could go multiple conditions and whatnot. And as hunters, we're like, even you mentioned chasing elk, you're putting strain on your body, you're producing body heat, the weather changes high in the mountains.
I'm a big sweater. Garrett calls me low gear. I mean, a few years ago, we were on a mountain goat hunt and all I was wearing was my base layer. And it was like maybe 10 degrees.
Yeah.
If you stopped, your sweat would freeze on your forehead, but being able to go from that, and the next week we might be in eastern Montana hunting pronghorn and it's 80 degrees, right? Being able to wear the same clothing matters. And we talk about that all the time. Like that's one thing that resonated with us when we were listening and reading your story is, we have to shrink up this gear list. Otherwise, to do what we do, we need an enclosed trailer full of crap.
Well, and we all would rather drive to destinations because I can fill the back of the truck up with, bags and bags of just in case.
Yep.
Right? And then when we do fly, you're paying for extra baggage because you've got a 70-pound duffel and you're trying to make it work. And even though you're gone on maybe a 4-day hunt, you're like, oh my God, I got 2 pair of boots, I got this, and this. And so, so that was our genesis. My son was a big mountain guide from Denali all the way to the Antarctica. And then as a family, we all played a lot. We all had crazy outdoor destination trips. And we would take these giant bags. I'm like, my God. And so we'd start on, a trip and you have the big bag. And then by the time you get to your destination, you're trying to get on that little Cub airplane. And you're like, okay, I'm going to unpack once again. And I'm going to pack in just a few smaller ones. And I'm going to gamble, that it's not going to rain or it's not going to do this or whatever. And so, and I'm like, why does it have to be that way? I came from the tech industry. The world around us in the last decade, 2 decades, has changed so rapidly. How we communicate to people, how we decipher information, healthcare, travel, everything around us has changed. However, our clothes has not, for the most part. And so we are on this path to really change the world when it comes to that. And we have been working on some really interesting technology in addition to fiber placement. And that gives us the ability to put a functional substrate inside a textile. What do I mean by that? Let's go back to your 3-layer laminate rain jacket for a minute. How that jacket is made is a piece of fabric glued to a membrane, a waterproof membrane, glued to another piece of fabric, right? And so that's your traditional 3-layer laminate. That membrane is really soft, it's quiet, it's supple, but yet the jacket is stiff, noisy, crunchy. And so it was like, wow, how do we take that membrane out that's soft and quiet and super supple and put it in our favorite soft, comfortable knit clothing that's quiet, that you never know that's in there, okay? And so we have developed that. If you look on our website, it's called Core Construction.
Core Construction,
Core Construction. It's a unique, patented approach to putting in a substrate inside a knit. And so what we do is begin to manipulate airflow. You mentioned you're hot, and so we have different levels of air regulation through our clothing. because air is the key to comfort, right? And so think about fleece. We all love a good fleece, and it's comfortable, it's cozy. When do we stop loving a good fleece? When that wind begins to blow, right? The wind blows right through the fleece. So you're like, why does it do this? Well, the thing about a fleece is that it has a really high moisture vapor transfer rate. And so it keeps us really comfortable until the wind blows. And then the wind destroys our moisture vapor transfer rate. It has a really high, air or air flow. We measure it in CFM. And so you get cold, right? But it's like, how I wish I could just live in a fleece all day, independent of the wind. And so our core construction allows us to do that, right? And it allows us to maintain a low air perm and a very high moisture vapor transfer rate. And so the comfort index is absolutely dialed in. It's absolutely dialed in. You're going to see us, we'll have to get on another podcast closer to January. We are going to announce first ever something very interesting at the Consumer Electronics Show that takes what I'm describing to a whole new level, that begins to help you with your stress that you have on your body associated with temperature deviations, and the things that I'm talking about. And so stay tuned. We're going to advance clothing in a world that has never been done before. And what we have in the market today is the prelude of those things. Fibers in the right place, the right type of fibers, also with a really interesting approach to implementation of a functional substrate inside a knit. And then we'll announce something that takes it a step further at the Consumer Electronics Show. So you can begin to kind of read between the lines on why are you showing this at the Consumer Electronics Show versus, at the Dallas Safari Club or SIA, someplace like an outdoor thing. And so, there's 200,000 attendees at the Consumer Electronics Show. We've already been nominated for 3 different innovation awards for this announcement. And that will be announced in November. So once it's announced, then I can disclose what we're going to officially do.
I'd like to if we can have you back on in January, have you talk about it. I'd be excited about that. Yeah. Speaking of your innovation, there's 2 things I wanted to ask about, and I don't remember the words, but the acronym it's start with no rules.
Starting with new rules?
New rules or no rules?
Yeah. I started with new rules, and a lot of, you can interchange it. We often say with no rules. So that is my parent company, and so we are very focused on. I talked about innovation. We back up our innovation with a portfolio of intellectual property. So we have secured a whole bunch of IP in the world of innovation. And that's really, really important to us. And so Voormi is a wholly owned subsidiary of SW&R.
Okay.
And so we just don't really talk about SW&R because it's confusing to the public. Mm-hmm. And what people know and recognize is Voormi. And so Voormi gets to be the guinea pig and the first adopter of all the things that my tech company develops.
Okay. And then sticking with the tech company and innovation, Tim Smith, is he your chief?
He's my technology officer.
Officer. And I was reading about him. Seems like he has a couple of patents himself, and he used to work for Gore-Tex maybe, or someone like that. Yeah. How did you snag him, get him on this Voormi journey, and how has he helped you guys progress, developing this new tech?
Yeah, Tim's been with us for a long time. It was funny. We had a mutual friend that connected us and said, "You two should talk." Tim's a really smart guy and would love to do something bigger, but he knows all the big brands, and he's a chemical engineer. He's really smart, and so we connected, and he was in Jackson Hole skiing. This was in the wintertime. And I said, "Hey, Tim, why don't you come through Pagosa on your way home?" And I said, we have access to a cabin with some incredible lines. I mean, some of the most incredible lines. And we take Powder magazine, Ski magazine there. It's a quiet little place. It's just an epic experience, right? And he goes, that sounds great. And I said, we'll pick you up at the airport, and then I have extra snow machines, and we take snow machines back to our cabin, and we spend a couple days, doing some cool stuff. And so he flies in, and man, the storm of the century hit, and it's just dumping and dumping and dumping and dumping, and we can't safely run our lines. I mean, it's just too steep, too risky. And so after a couple of days of doing just low angle stuff, we decided to go out to leave. And he jumps on one of the machines, didn't have much experience on a snow machine. And I was right behind him, bringing up the rear. And I tell the story that he got a little confused on the throttle versus the brake, and decided to kiss a big pine tree really hard. And so I blow up the story and tell the people he totaled my sewing machine, but I actually just broke an AR. And so I tell the story that he's still paying off, a sewing machine, and that's how we got him. So that's how that he was part of the team right off the bat. He, okay, you're in now. It's kind of like the firm. You've already broken machine. Now you've been stuck in a cabin for 3 days, and you're on the team. And so he jumped ship and moved from Delaware to Pagosa Springs, and has been here since, and working on some really rad stuff with his team. And we have all kinds of different engineers. I have electrical engineers. Hence our announcement in January. We have chemical engineers. We have design. We have all kinds of interesting people. That is a little different than most textile or clothing companies.
Yeah, for all the reading I've done on you that I can find, it's very different. It's exciting though, different in a good way. But
it is different. We just don't. It's a sea of sameness out there. And the brands that you mentioned, a lot of them are made in the same factories. It's pretty much the same fabric. It's like, you would think that some of the big brands that we've known, would really drive leapfrog innovations, but they're not. And
just kind of keeping up with demand and pumping out their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and brands come and go. They burn hot briefly and then they go away or whatever. But if you look at you contrast that with the tech industry, the tech industry drives, game-changing innovations on a regular basis. I have seen things from big tech companies in the textile world, that we could all quickly and easily be wearing, an Apple T-shirt with some really interesting functionality in the future if we're not careful, and so we're really trying to be that pioneer and bringing advanced textile information along with a tech background, and so we're trying to facilitate this convergence of textiles and technology.
Just to make, your company's so focused on the actual materials that your clothing is made up of, and a lot of these other companies, it just seems like they're more like selling a image or a brand or a camo pattern versus not actually the science between the materials that are going in. You offer a wide range of clothing from like light summer wear to, like you said, heavy parkas and stuff. Is there, I guess, a starting point in your product? How did Voormi start? Did you start with a mid layer, or did you start with what's that path like of how you developed your products?
Yeah, the first product we developed is still one of our key products in the line today. And it's called the High E hoodie. It was designed originally for ice climbing, named from a very famous ice route up in the New England area with one of our designers. It's got a kangaroo style pocket, a really interesting hood, high zip up collar, slim fit. It has now become the favorite for ski patrollers, bow hunters, it's like the go-to piece that you got to have. You know, it's highly water resistant. It's like the perfect mid layer across the board, and really durable, super durable. It's got super high level of unique water repellency on it. And so that was our very first piece, and it continues to be a key piece in our product lineup.
Okay, cool. And then I've noticed, like, you men, women, is there any, I guess, strive towards maybe offering kids some clothing in the future? Or
Yeah, we'd love to do kid pieces. Most of the guys who work for me have little kids as well, and you know the Voormi family. You know, we do have our own cut and sew operation as well here, and so you know we make kid stuff for for the Voormi family
Yeah,
people.
for the
You know,
immediate
there's
family.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have that, and we've been asked, 100 times to go do that. We will do that. We're working, the kid clothing comes with a lot of a lot of additional regulations and requirements, and it's hard to keep up with all the regulations, for kid stuff, and but I think over the next probably 18 months, you may see us release, one or two kid pieces.
cool.
Also looking. Oh, I didn't mean to overtalk you, Dan.
No, no, go ahead.
Also looking over your repertoire of stuff. There's some key things that we use, and like we had a buddy who shot a mountain goat, and 26 hours later shot an antelope. A year before that, I shot an elk in the mountains, and 5 days later, I shot an antelope in the plains. So with changing these climates so much, we've kind of developed a set of gear that we have, and I'm kind of attached to it. But I'm curious. You guys have definitely piqued my interest. In that gear, it's like your base layer, your mid layer, your puffy, and your rain jacket, and that kind of covers you from hot to soaking in the snow. But there's some things that I noticed I have on my list that you guys don't offer yet, and I wanted to ask you about that. First one is some pant options. I saw you have kind of like a waterproof bib, but not really like pants I'm going to be trouncing through the bush with. And then maybe some gaiters. I know when we were mountain goat hunting, gaiters on the bottom of our pants helped so much. It was one of the things we were glad to have. So kind of wanted to ask you about those two things specifically.
Yeah. Well, and those two things are on our list. Having worked with many apparel companies when I worked for a large hunting company before, the pant business, the bottoms, is a very difficult business to be in. The return rate is really high. Everybody wears their pants different, and you can lose a lot of money really fast as an apparel company in the pant market. And so initially, I decided not to chase the pant market. We all have some pants, but we have not made those public yet, until we absolutely figure out we can optimize the sizing and whatnot. And so we have focused on the upper versus the lower. As you mentioned, we do have some killer bibs that we use for ice fishing, waterfowl hunting, all kinds of great stuff, riding sleds, whatever. Those are great. Certainly not applicable for bow hunting or rifle hunting unless you're setting, a lot. So that's on our list. We have a killer fabric ready for bibs, or I'm sorry, for pants, from lightweight to to a heavier weight. So you can expect us to do that. Gaiters in the same boat. I'm a big gaiter user. It's a game changer for sure. And even if it's super wet outside, just to kind of protect that, your boots or your upper shoes, and wear that. It's quiet, et cetera, et cetera. So we're big fans of gaiters. Our bibs that you mentioned has built-in gaiters.
Mm-hmm.
We live in deep snow country here. I mean, we get 500 plus inches a year down here. So we we live in deep snow, and so we see a lot of value in gaiters. So you'll see those eventually come in on our product line as well.
That's exciting, because one thing Garrett and I can't seem to find is a pair of gaiters that we like. You know, it seems like you have snake gaiters that are loud. You have, skiing or kind of mountaineering gaiters that are also loud and usually cool colors. And then you do find a hunting gaiter that's quiet, but after 2 uses, it's falling apart. And you're like, well, there went $70, and I'm going to have to get it. I think you've gone through 3 pairs.
Yeah, I got a whole old pile back at my house, just kind of bits and pieces. So that's exciting that that's something you guys are thinking about getting into. I wanted to talk with you about fit a little bit. Typically, how does your stuff fit? Is it kind of sports fit, more of a
slim fit? Is a little bit more pear shaped like myself? How's it?
In our early days, we were all over the fit world. I personally liked a more relaxed fit. And then my younger guys that were all ice climbers and backcountry skiers wanted something more athletic. And so we were always in this conflict of fit, right? And so now we worked with a design firm. We've done a lot of studies. Now we have a fit. I'd say it's closer to a regular fit, but airs more on the slim fit, with the exception of a few of our products. So one product is called the Sportsman's Hoodie. It's a 2-pocket hoodie. So you have a pocket up high and a pocket down low. It has our core construction, the patented technology I mentioned in it. And that is a little bit more of a regular fit. And so, Jared, you'd love that hoodie right off the bat.
Well, good.
Right? But you can see I'm wearing a zip-up hoodie. It's not slim fit. It's not regular. It's not boxy. And I'm just kind of an average build, old guy. And so we're between the two. I mean, I think that we don't need great big boxy things that your grandparents wore or previous generations wore. But on the other hand, we're not ice climbers, and we need something that we can move around, be quiet, be nimble, be flexible, and still look good. I mean, we're shooting a bow. I don't want a whole bunch of extra, stuff hanging around, and nor do I want to carry the extra weight of extra fabric. So we're kind of in between, more of a regular fit and a athletic fit.
Okay. Another thing I want to talk with you about is, seems like there's several Voormi like Instagram or Facebook pages. Primarily, as far as the hunting side, it looks like you cover a lot of like ice climbing and hiking and stuff. Hunting side seems to be more primarily focused on like waterfowl. Is there plans to kind of beef that up towards larger game and stuff? You mentioned you bow hunt quite a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. With Instagram, all the social media, people want to choose a path, and that's what the brand becomes associated with. And so we're trying to thread the needle. I mean, we're all hunters, we're all outdoor people, and it's funny, going to the SHOT Show for years and then going to the Outdoor Retailer Show is like, heaven forbid the two communities ever talk together. It's just, it just doesn't work, right? And which is just crazy, because at the end of the day, we're all practicing conservation. We all want to, do a great job with the resources that we have available to us. But I think hunters often know the difference between conservation and preservation better than most people. And so I think that we have tried to thread that needle on what is, to share our passion and what what we like to go do, versus having hero shots everywhere. If you send a picture of you sitting behind an elk, and we'll post it all day long, right? You'll see that. Are we going to send an email out or be our landing page of one of my guys holding a big animal? Probably not, right? It's the same with waterfowl. It's the same with skiing though. My guys are, we have a lot of really extreme skiers here. You're not going to see them hucking off a huge cornice, even though they may do it, because that's not representative of everybody else, right? And so we take an approach of like, we're super authentic, but you don't need to show dead stuff every minute of the day to show that they're authentic, right? And I think that a lot of social channels have really masked the word authenticity, and show a dead animal or show something on their screen, and all of a sudden they're an expert. And so we like to talk about the experience, our approach to give back to conservation, to really trying to build things that last. I mean, let's talk about the fact that in the apparel world, there's over 100 billion pieces of garments made every year.
Did you say 100 billion?
100 billion garments
B.
made every
Billion.
year.
Dang.
Billion, right? And I could give you stats on how much of that goes into landfill, that doesn't get sold, and then it takes 80 to 90 years for a polyester jacket or shirt to degrade, and then you have all the microplastics that go down in the water. We should, if we talk about that, that's really impactful. And so for us, it's more important to build a sustainable product that doesn't wear out immediately, that is usable whether I'm elk hunting or skiing, right? And to me, that's what's important. And so as we think about marketing our approach, we really tend to focus on durability, longevity, reliability, and the innovation, true innovation that we're bringing to the marketplace versus, a specific sport. And so we dabble and we show images around, around different activities to show that we embrace it, we love it, we do it, but
you're not shooting Colorado bull elk every weekend and that's what your brand is. We're for archery elk hunting. You're like, hey, our stuff works great if you're skiing, you're hunting geese, you're hunting elk, you're walking your dog down the road, it's a great piece. So
it's right. Yeah. I mean, we are shooting elk often, and waterfowl often, and great big deer often. But it's just, I want people to think about Voormi as a very innovative brand that brings something unique to the marketplace that is very surprising. And I would challenge anybody, buy a piece, try a piece, you won't be disappointed. And then over time, some of your favorite things will no longer be your favorite pieces because you can get away with less things in your bag and you're more comfortable throughout the day. You're not thinking about, am I hot? I just climbed up a mountain bow hunting or chasing elk, and you're shedded down. You're down to your ultralight, your base layer, and you get to the top, and you're glassing, and you're waiting, and you're cooling off. And there's a fine line of getting ahead of being cooled off too fast.
Yeah.
Because the minute you say, "Ooh, I need to put a jacket on," it's too late. You're screwed, right? And so as we have out of town guests come in all the time, and we get to the top and we're like, "Put your jacket on." Man, I'm still hot. Put your jacket on. It's going to get cool really, really fast, and it's going to be too late. And so we think you shouldn't have to think about the thought process of when to put a jacket on, when to take it off, when to unzip, or whatever the case may be. Your clothes should regulate, and you should be able to do that without thinking about it. And so that's what we're focused on. That's what other people think about Voormi is it's a piece of gear, it's a piece of product that is innovative. All the fabric, if you walk in our store in Bozeman or down here or online, all the fabric you see on every product is unique to us. It's with our patented technology, it's unique to us, and there's a reason for that. And that's what I want people to think about versus we're a ski company or we're a hunting company or we're a rafting company. It's like we do all those things. We're passionate. I've got drift boats and rafts, and we do all those things as well. But we just talk about the durability, reliability, functionality of our products.
And that's something that we pride ourselves on, is the ability to, we're not specialists in anything. We pride ourselves on the jack of all trades, where a lot of times in the outdoor industry, you have people that are very highly specific. Like, I'm a fly fisherman, I post fly fishing. So that's interesting. I guess I didn't know that, but looking at your website, but it makes sense that that's the message that you're prevailing to people. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I look at that turkey, I look at the Merriam on your wall, behind us, and it's like, in the West, chasing a Merriam is like, chasing elk in the fall.
Yeah,
You're up
yeah.
and down, and running ridge lines and whatever the case may be. And, it's often really cold in the morning, and it gets pretty warm later in the day. And so, so then do you broadcast that you're a turkey hunting company?
Right.
And so it's like you want you want something that allows you to go chase, turkeys in the end of April or April, May, or elk in September.
Yeah, and then looks nice enough that you can go to some wedding that your wife's dragging you to, after you're hunting in the morning.
Well, that'd be nice. I could just hop in the truck and go, no change.
Well, I've got guys say, "Hey, I can go to church in this jacket." I'm like, "Okay, good for you."
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You mentioned something about an apron.
Oh, yes. I know you guys are kind of looking into different textiles and even different industries, not just the outdoor industry, for some of your technology. I did snoop a little bit, and I saw videos of two different guys. They knew each other, though. I don't know how, that were wearing chef's aprons with Voormi on it. Can you tell? Because I don't see one of those on your website.
Yeah, we're sold out currently
Yeah?
on those. That was a big hit. Using our technology core, I mentioned that we could put functional substrates since I'm very comfortable knit, right? And so we put some fire retardant substrates inside there and heat retardant. And so the chefs love them. These professional chefs love it. And what we do on the outside prevents it from getting stained. And so they could be cooking, or they're wiping their hands on the apron, or they're close to the grill, or whatever the case may be, and they're not they're not feeling the heat through their body. And so that's an example of taking our technology and putting some new functionality on top of our intellectual property and being able to use it in other arenas. We have fabric in the automotive industry, for acoustics. We do some really interesting work in that arena. And so the key is how do you create more functionality out of textiles, and so you can do more and do more with less. But so yeah, those are some cool projects. We got some other interesting projects underway as well associated with fluorescent. You'll see a whole different approach on high vis that we're going to introduce that no one's ever done, and it's going to be really interesting. So hopefully we'll see that next fall with high vis, hunter vest, orange vest, to road safety green, to if you're a biker or runner or whatever, just overall, personal road safety or safety as well. So we've taken a completely different approach to how to create visibility. Same thing as I mentioned with wool. Wool absorbs light, and so it's very difficult to get a high level of visibility on fiber that absorbs light, right? Where contrast that with synthetic, it's really easy to create reflective high vis fabric, but yet you have synthetic plastic, high vis stuff. And so we have discovered a way to do that very uniquely that we'll be releasing next fall in the high vis world.
That's very interesting you said that, because I just got a new piece for my birthday this year that I have yet to try out. And it was a hunter's orange wool vest, because my biggest gripe is I put my hunter's orange on and I cook. Okay. Yeah. It doesn't breathe. And so finally I found somebody who made an orange wool vest so I could at least get some air through there, and cool off faster. So that would be interesting too. Something that I just feel like I don't have a hunter's orange outfit that I wear that I like to wear. It's always like,
Right.
shit,
Gotta
I'll
get
throw
the-
it on. Yeah.
Yeah, we released an orange vest a couple years ago, and just sold through real fast. It was designed almost on a turkey vest, very utilitarian.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're going on a quick, hour hunt, 2 hour hunt, you don't need your backpack. You can put things in your vest pocket. It's hunter orange, and that was really good. It was really well. The problem with wool vest is usually the price point.
Yeah.
People don't want to pay the price point for something that's going to put on, and so you have to add additional functionality to that wool vest to really get people to say, I can buy this $19 plastic vest versus $100 orange vest, and so with what we're releasing next year changes that whole paradigm as well.
I'm excited for that.
So sounds like Voormi's looking up. You have several plans where you're expanding into new industries. In 20 years, where do you see Voormi?
I'll answer that by where do we see clothing first. We believe clothing should be dynamic, should be adaptable. Clothing should change colors on your demand. It should change fit on your demand, and it should change comfort on your demand. And we're on that path to do that.
Like Back to the Future.
And so we're going to announce the first step of that at the CES in January. And so we think clothing, we as consumers should challenge every clothing company that we wear today to do more. And it's like it's the only thing in our lives that hasn't changed, and we're just making more and more crap that goes in landfills. And it's like, and I don't know about you guys, we hunt different terrain, like you mentioned, from antelope to mountains chasing elk. It's like, why do I have to have a different piece for each of those?
Right.
And it should be adaptable. And each of us, we're made up different, right? With the three of us can wear the same jacket. I don't care whose jacket it is. We can wear the same jacket, the same shirt. It can be the same color. We each are going to have a different experience in that product, right? And it's not personalized for me. And so, apologize for that being. I've got everything on mute. I don't know what's going on. But so each of these should be personalized for each of us, right? And so Voormi will drive that. Will drive that awareness. And and like I said, in November, if we wanted to talk after the middle of November, I can do an announcement of some of the things that our step towards personalization, what truly is personalized, and make each of us unique in our clothing, and our clothing will be unique to us. And that's how I see Voormi. Voormi will be the frontier, really leading that new endeavor on expecting and delivering a new set of expectations from clothing.
And do you plan on licensing some of this to other clothing companies? Is that kind of the goal?
Yeah. Yep. We'll license the technology.
Okay.
Yep.
So we could have Voormi tech in like a Eddie Bauer shirt eventually.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You could. Maybe by the end of 2025. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Where is your stuff made?
Today, I have factories in the U.S., including one that we own down here, and then we're making the majority of our clothing, not our fabric. Our clothing is assembled a lot in Vietnam today. My goal is to make it 100% U.S. made, and we're still committed. We make more in the U.S. than we did last year. I mean, we were 100% U.S. and we just couldn't match the demand, and so we have to carefully, move the final assembly over to Vietnam while we still maintain factories in the U.S. and our commitment to the U.S. A lot of our so-called hunting stuff, our camo, is made all in the U.S. And so right now at the factory I'm in today in Colorado, we're in the process of making a whole bunch of new concealment hoodies with our patented technology. And so that is all made in the U.S., right? So it just depends on the product line, and the capacity that we have available.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Anything else that you can think of, Dan, that you want to let us or our listeners know about Voormi?
Well, look, I know you guys, all your listeners have lots of choices, and we all watch, shows like yours and YouTube or the Outdoor Channel or whatever, and we all, it's quick to assume that a particular clothing brand is cool because someone's wearing it on TV or someone's wearing it on YouTube, but we don't really play in that market much, and so I would say give us a try. We have ultralights that are a great experience. That is a pretty easy point to get in and test the innovation and test the positioning and some of the things I've talked about today. Give us a shot. And I think that you'll see that Voormi really means innovation. Unlike what the word is often used today, throughout every brand, we've got this new innovative blah blah. It's not really, and so I think think about us as true innovators, and we're going to pioneer a new set of expectations for consumers. And we think the days of feeling uncomfortable being outside, having to think about layering. We have a saying internally, when people preached about you got to layer, that basically is saying you got to layer because my products really suck, and you have to put more on. And by the way, I want you to buy more products. So let me tell you all about layering. And so we think the word layering should be dead, and your products should be adaptable enough to cover anything that you need for layering. And so we're gonna be different. We don't like to play in the sea of sameness. Some people don't like it. It's like, that's cool. And we're never going to out Everest North Face. I'm not going to out Google spin some brand that's focused on hunting or whatever. We're really focused on reinvesting any kind of money right into the innovation and really changing how we should think about clothing.
Cool.
And
it's really cool.
I think that wraps it up, Dan. Really appreciate you coming on, taking time of your day to talk to us and our listeners. I don't want to say innovative because that word's been used so many times, but it sounds like Voormi's pretty innovative. For people wanting your products online, you have a store in Bozeman, and then also Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. And we have a couple, so you go to Voormi.com, and it's VOORMI.com, and you can see the range. We sell to 60 different countries around the world today online. And then we have 2 physical stores, as you mentioned, Bozeman, Montana, and Pagosa Springs, Colorado. We have, 20, 30, 40 retailers that carry our products, but it's really not, the wholesale model is really not our jam. But we do, if the wholesaler wants to work with us, they can carry our products. There's a lot of really high-end lodges that carry our products. And our products do really well in those locations as well. And so you'll be surprised where you find Voormi in different destination locations. And we're in the process of opening some new stores that we'll announce here after the first of the year as well, different locations around the United States.
So I want to catch you. I know we're wrapping up here. We're kind of out of time. I got to get back to work. But from our point of view, we're in the outdoors, more on the hunting, fishing side. Our listeners are kind of in that side as well. where do I start? I walk into Voormi and Bozeman, I'm touching stuff. What's the first piece you would recommend for guys like us to give you a good try?
I tell you what, I would recommend one of our ultralight pieces. And if you like a hood, I would recommend, it's called the River Run. Think about this as a ultralight base layer, super light. I spent 2 weeks floating the Grand Canyon in one piece, swam in it, on the raft, slept in it, 2 weeks, and 110-degree temperature in the daytime and 95 degrees at night, right? And then it is our first layer. I hate the word layer. It is our first piece. Like right now, if I'm running around chasing elk in the elk woods with my bow and arrow, I have that piece on every day. And so it's a way that you can use a piece from skiing to hunting, waterfowl, elk, sitting in a tree stand, ice fishing. It is a piece that it's $100, roughly 119 or whatever, to get into a piece that you can really see a difference and you can feel a difference. And you're like, you know what? There's something interesting about this. Let me go ahead and check out our mid layer, a heavier piece that has a little bit more features to it. And so I would recommend one of our ultralights. We have short sleeve shirts, we have long sleeve t-shirts, and then we have long sleeve with a hooded piece. We use for fly fishing all year, from in the wintertime, chasing, the ocean, flats, all the way up, sitting in a drift boat or wading. I'm in a River Run hoodie. A lot of people our clients are in River Run hoodies. It's a great SPF, and it's a great first piece to put on no matter what you're doing.
All right. First piece, River Run hoodie.
Not every day you get a recommendation from the CEO and founder of a company, so thank you, Dan.
I appreciate that.
I think we'll wrap it up. Be sure to check out our Instagram, TikTok. Go ahead, check out Voormi at their website or at their physical locations. More to come. Remember to share your shop, but not necessarily your spot.
That's a big one, and we touched on that a little bit, but with so many people flooding this industry, a lot of your spots get ruined if someone posts their elk on your Facebook. The next year there's 100 people there, so share your spot or share your shot, not your spot. And as always, we'll be surviving the week to live on the weekends.